Thank you so much. First, I want to thank the previous presenter. I think there was some very interesting and great insights on the subject matter that he talked about. So, here we are. Do government shared infrastructure services actually work? I have today a very interesting panel. We shall delve into this conversation, and what will be super interesting is to start this conversation by intros. I can see Martin Mirero, I can see Byron, and I can see my good friend Riho. Riho, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. Government shared infrastructure services across Africa. We are focusing on Africa. Before we go into this conversation, let's start with some intros from each one of you and your opening statements. As you are doing that, let's try and define for the guy on the street across Africa, what do we know and how do we define government infrastructure services? And as we are sitting here today, how have they worked so far? Then we'll go into our conversations. Byron, you go first.
Thank you, Ali. So I'm Byron Otieno. I look after the public sector for liquid intelligent technologies in Kenya. I primarily work with government agencies across all boards. That is obviously the central government, parastatals, the NGOs and the like, and the affiliates. And so I'm here really to chip in and speak about what works and other great opportunities that are out there for these government agencies.
Thank you, Byron. Great. Riho, over to you.
Hello, my name is Riho Kurg, and you pronounce it right. And I'm from Cybernetica, Estonia, one of the advanced digital nations in the world. And as a head of data exchange technologies, we are working in the project in different African countries, to name here Benin, Namibia, Tunisia, and others mainly in West Africa. And for me, the one of the cornerstones for the government infrastructure, no matter if we talk about the ID or interoperability, the main keyword is the trust.
Trust
and trusted connectivity.
Martin, how are you?
Hey, Harry, great.
Good
to meet you.
Fantastic. Over to you, Martin. Your intro, and I think I'm going to be asking you one or two interesting questions because I know you are at Ajua now, but you've spent quite a number of years in government. So we'll delve into that. Prepare yourself for some interesting, tricky, tough questions. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you, Ali. And it's great panelist, Byron and Riho. Pleasure to be here. So I'm Martin Mirero. I am the CTO at Ajua. And, Ajua seeks to transform, how businesses build relationships with their customers, across Africa, by offering, a platform to enable to enable the building of this data-rich relationship with customers. More importantly, a few years ago, of course, for the last four and a half years, I worked for Huduma Kenya, which really sought to, in a sense, build a shared, for the purposes of this, a shared services platform for access to public services for citizens. And I think one of the lessons we learned along the way. Yeah. So looking forward to.
Thanks, Martin. I think I will not be exaggerating when I say that Huduma Kenya has been one of the success stories across Africa when it comes to government services. I think one of the most important thing about Huduma Kenya was taking it down to the everyday Kenyan who's doing his business, access to government services. I'll come back to you, Martin, to discuss a little bit more about that. But I want to read you guys something around government services from a white paper I read yesterday. Shared services in government, critical success factors for sustainability. Government organizations face significant obstacles that make it difficult for leaders to keep the mission in focus. Reduced funding, doing more with less, the duplication of IT operations within a myriad of component agencies, a lack of integration between key legacy applications and newer web-based systems all highlight the need for shared services. As a comprehensive delivery model, shared services has grown into an increasingly attractive alternative across the globe. I'm going to give you a scenario in an African country that I shall not mention. A friend of mine, 3 days ago when we were discussing this panel that I was going to come into, he gave me an interesting scenario where he was doing some work in a government agency in an African country. And he sent emails, several emails. For 2 weeks, there was no communication back. 2 weeks. Until finally he decided, let me just get out of my hotel room, let me walk across and visit the person that he was communicating with. And shock on him, this was a Ministry of ICT. And the guy was told, listen, we don't recognize email as official communication. So I want to ask you guys, is the problem infrastructure or is the problem culture and appropriate legal mechanisms and legal infrastructure to actually assist in these communications? Rio, I want to start with you because you are from Estonia, you said, and I think I will not be exaggerating if I said that Estonia is a gem when it comes to e-government services. Over to you. How did you, because let us accept one thing, technology is there. The tech is there. In fact, if it's not there, if you think it's not there, you think it and it will be there. There will be people to implement it. So what's stopping government service, shared government services to become a success, not just in Africa, but across the world? Rio, over to you.
Yes, thank you. You are absolutely right. Technology is there. Technology has always been there. And one of the success factors for Estonia 20-something years ago, when we were coming from a different world to get more accustomed into the developing nations, then we needed to invent technology. But technology is always there. Technology is there in Africa, no doubt, everywhere.
So what's stopping the success of government shared services?
One of the really critical factors is the political will. Political will, because it's very easy to say that this is priority, this is a roadmap, this is what we do, but without political will, it's really difficult to actually move forward. Because I have great examples in different African countries when there is a clear will at the highest political level that something can be done, then there is always smart people who can do it. Local smart people can do it if there is a political will. And this was actually a great example that you were thinking of about email as a communication.
Yeah.
Yes. If somebody hasn't said that email is important, then it never will be. It was the same. It was the very same here in Estonia as well. Everybody was waiting for the phone call, for the fax, for visiting. But if somebody at the highest level doesn't trust that this digital first, mobile first, you have to call, you have to answer every digital service request. That public services over the internet is the first. These are simple messages, but they have to be conveyed on a very clear manner.
My take home from what you've just said, one, political will. Another one, somebody must be convinced at the highest level possible. Byron, Kenya is a conundrum. Sometimes I feel that we have success on one side and failures or learnings on the other side. Martin talked about Huduma Kenya, and Huduma Kenya, by the way, is an example of what an African country can do when it comes to government e-services. Yet, the same government still has ministers using Gmail and Yahoo accounts. So I don't want Martin to talk about this. I'll come to him. Byron, I want you, from a point of view of a partner and a Kenyan, where do you see this? I mean, on one side you have Huduma Kenya, super successful and continuing to be successful. On the other side, you have senior government officials still using Yahoo and Gmail accounts. What's up with that? Byron, over to you.
It's very interesting you put it that way, because we see the full spectrum from working with the Communications Authority to working with individual ministries in the country. And as Rio mentioned, yeah, there's a political will which is being driven by the CS for ICT, which is Musheru, and he has done a commendable job. Even just the setup of the ICT Authority for Kenya, which drives most of these initiatives from educating the decision makers in these ministries to change, to come and adopt to the current technologies that are being used. A good example is when COVID happened, we partnered with Microsoft, and they offered free Office 365 services to government ministries. There's one that I will not mention the ministry, but they took up the service. It was a free service for 6 months. After that, it was expected that they will adopt it. Unfortunately, even after enjoying the benefits, there's still the normal government process of procurement, which had to come in, and the service had not been budgeted, and they reverted to Gmail. So you find it that you go to one ministry, they're still on Gmail, and another one is on Microsoft Office 365. They've moved on there. They're using the current technology. Because during COVID, as you can imagine, collaboration tools were the most important. So to all organizations.
We lost you there a bit, Byron.
I wouldn't put it as user knowledge, but I hope you got.
We lost you there a bit, Byron. But I got the gist of what you're saying. So I think at some point there's probably silos in between, and I would agree with you that CS Musheru has done a commendable job trying to bring all these shared services together. But yet, we are still not there yet. So to combine what Rio's experience and his views and what Byron has just said, I want to come back to Martin. So Martin, as CTO at Huduma Kenya for many years, I think you were at the center of this conundrum that is government shared services. So on one side, you have a super complex infrastructure to ensure that government services are online and working 99.99% of the time through eCitizen, through Huduma centers. I mean, for me, Huduma is a perfect example of how omni-channel government shared services actually work. So you have that on one side, and then you have something as simple as email going wrong. Back to you, Martin. What's going on?
Well, yeah, that's a loaded one, Ali. But I do admit, yes. I think if I can just latch back to the earlier question, around, in particular this aspect of culture. I think culture is a very powerful. It's very powerful in Asia. I mean, it's ingrained behavior, and I think it tends. And it's ultimately the biggest thing to overcome. And I think political will puts a wedge in the door, in terms of at least beginning to overcome that inertia. But one of the things we found out with Huduma now, probably leading back to the email question, is once you have the green light and that political will to now start moving, and there's usually a very short period between which you need to execute and deliver value to the end user, in this case, the citizen. And if you can find a way, a quick win to get something of value into their hands, then eventually the citizens become the custodians of this. And then they then drive there, because that's the demand side, and the consumers of the service, they then sort of now give momentum to faster and more accelerated, rollout. I mean, and investment, because the owners of that service, the different government agencies and ministries, begin to actually see the impact, at least as quickly as possible. And I think that's what really, in my interpretation, I think that was one of the things that really got us to get escape velocity, to begin, getting the citizens to be their custodians and owning this now. The value was clear, and many of the government agencies and ministries then fell in line and actually started making investments to support that. Now on the email side, I feel it's probably woven into this same need to be citizen-centric and to have impact on the citizen. I think we did notice, a trend towards, having a centralized, more standardized, government domain email. But I think it is still something that, will be a journey. I think it will be a journey, tied to behavior and incentives. But I feel we're on the right trajectory, to get into a place where we can even understand the importance of communicating in a timely manner with citizens who are the ultimate custodians of government.
Absolutely, Martin.
So maybe I can pin it there.
Martin, thank you so much. So one key factor that keeps on coming up among all of us is culture. Reminds me of the old adage, culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and teas in between. Rio, back to you. I'm coming to this conversation around Estonia. And you told us, you alluded to the fact that Estonia did not wake up one morning and become so successful in e-government. Give me three, just three because of time, three key factors that you think has made Estonia the number one e-government sharing services across the world, beating tech giants like China, Russia, the United States, and the larger European Union. Give me three. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. So 3 is a good number. Let's see, because as you said, it didn't happen overnight. We have had our 20-something years history of our own mistakes, of our own evolution, and this is what I always say in African countries, that you don't have 20 years. So 3 key points in Estonian history or evolution was first, as I said, a clear political will, because the politicians did trust the engineers. There was a period when politicians did trust the engineers because we were all in the same boat. Second, Estonians, then this is culture. If the first is politics, the second is culture. Culturally, Estonians don't like to talk to people. They prefer remote communication. As they say before, after COVID was hitting and the 3-meter rule, then it was outrage in Estonia. What? We have to be that close now. So this is one thing, and probably and this is culture that is very, very difficult to change. Which means that the electronic services were more easily adopted, starting from the banking, going to the government. But and the third is probably just that Estonia is small. But I would like to stress this cultural aspect of Estonia wanted to be isolated and not talking to other humans. Actually, in Africa, the whole banking industry is moved to the mobile, moved to the electronic services.
That's correct.
In Kenya, M-Pesa was a revolutionary technology 5 years ago, and growing strong. Other countries are picking up, which means that people are trusting very much their own money to remote communication.
Absolutely.
So the only matter is that if they trust the government as much as they do their bank through the mobile channel, and this is the key.
Number 3. Oh,
Number
that's
3,
too good enough.
Number 3, as I said, Estonian small. We have just about less than 2 million citizens, and everybody knows somebody who knows somebody.
That is great. Rio, thank you so much for that. Byron, infrastructure is one of the key components. Internet infrastructure, actual wires on the ground, fiber optics. So the Kenya government, for example, invested in the NOFB, National Fiber Optic Backbone. But that did not take into account what is known as the last mile. Talk to me in less than 2 minutes because of time, how Liquid is working with governments across Africa to do these general global infrastructure, internet infrastructure, and also then help with the last mile. 2 minutes.
That's good. Liquid is known to own the most fiber on the ground. We are now past 100,000 kilometers of fiber on the ground from Cape to Cairo. Yeah, our chairman's vision was to bring connectivity to all Africans and to bring it as close as possible to the citizen. We now have a goal that where there's a population of 3,500 people, there should be an internet point of presence. Whether that last mile will be fiber to the home or whether it will be a wireless connection as the last mile. And we've gone further. We partnered with Google on places where we can't reach in terms of the terrain is too harsh to lay fiber. They have a technology that can push up to 10 gig on a last mile on wireless. And we were able for the first time to cross the Congo River to deliver such capacity across. So traditionally we work with all governments because, as you know, we need licenses and the policies to cut across. And we've partnered with them with their plan on where they want to go, and that becomes where we take our infrastructure.
Thank you, Byron. Proceed.
Working with the traditional backbones that run across the country, as you can imagine, say Nairobi, Mombasa, to the border of Uganda, we go straight up to Congo, up to Rwanda, then to Congo. We look at the populations around and the businesses along those, what we call the internet highways, and then we deploy the last miles that can carry further the service to where it can be consumed. We still continue with that ambition, and we are now into West Africa also. So we have a goal in about 10 years, all of Africa will be covered, both from the sea and inland.
Byron, thank you so much. And we are coming to a close for our panel today. So I want to go back to Martin with your closing remarks. And then we'll go to Rio and then back to Byron. Martin, over to you. And when you're doing your closing remarks, so maybe just recommendations in terms of next steps and way forward as far as future government is concerned in Africa in regards to how technology can help enhance that. Martin, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Ali. So yeah, I know this may sound cliche, but I think one mantra that seems to be consistent and carry the day is design with the customer in mind. And in the case of Huduma, for example, that really drove our priorities. So every technology investment, you think, so what's the path to impact for the citizen and the consumer? And that helped prioritize and actually led to this shared services design, because it frees up the owners of the service, the MDAs and the government agencies to focus on service delivery without having to, get bogged down by the complexities of technologies. So it seems when you're customer-centric, citizen-centric, it somehow follows that you make the right investments. And I feel, as simple as that sounds, I think that will really should help define the priorities for governments and how they both design and deploy technology, and then the policies and regulations around ensuring things like data privacy and protection enforced and standards, interoperability, and so on. But I think if you keep the citizen at the center and you're a consumer of that service, it then informs, as simple as it sounds, then actually informs the rest of the program. So I think that's where I would.
Martin, thank you so much. For me, my take home today from you is P to I, path to impact. I love that. I will engage you a little bit more offline on that. That is perfect. Rio, over to you. Please keep it down to a minute. Your closing remarks.
Yes, just a quick few suggestions. Get the best technology, get the best experience, get the best knowledge, and build the services, build solutions locally by the local companies, because the digital government, digital transformation can happen only if there is a local ecosystem that is thriving. Without local ecosystem, you can't buy the digital government.
Rio, thank you so much. My take home from you today, the most important for me is build solutions locally. I love that. I really, really love that. Byron, over to you.
I think my most important would be let the government roll out the policies that are being implemented equally across all ministries and parastatals, so that there's no need for one to be ahead of the other. Then that will quickly change the culture and adoption of this technology.
Thank you, Byron. My take home from you today, policies across the board, seamlessly, culture, and make sure that these are implemented equally across agencies and industries. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for these few minutes of nuggets of gold when it comes to e-government. Asante sana, Rio. Rio, that means thank you very much in Swahili. And I want you guys to have a lovely afternoon from here. Thank you so much.
Asante sana. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Good day.
All right, guys. It's from my panelists. It's been an interesting and candid conversation from the complexities of implementing Huduma Kenya and the learnings, and I don't want to say failures, I'm just saying the learnings from the issues regarding email services within government. Thank you very much. Asante sana.